brake pads on the Solar P1. So you might find after using this scooter for various miles that the brake pads will need changing. Solar themselves, they will charge you around £14 for a new pair of brake pads, when you can get the same ones on eBay for around £4 to £5. So for starters, just make sure you get yourselves the 2 correctly sized Allen keys and a new set of brake pads as well. It's worth noting as well that make sure the brake cable adjuster is screwed most of the way in, and undo it by 2 to 3 turns, just so it gives you some adjustment either way without overstretching the cable. This is a very simple job, and you might not necessarily need to change the pads. So in this video I'll show you how to change the brake pads, but also how to adjust the brakes to make them effective even after months of use when everything's bedded in. So on the Solar P1, this is the carrier for the brake caliper. So if you do this, it's much easier. So if you undo this bolt here, and then this bolt here, and it will make the caliper come off. So I'll do that and then I'll show you the rest of the video. So this is with the carrier left on and the caliper taken off the carrier. So you might find when you undo these that it is very tricky to undo. This is normal just because of the Loctite that's used on the bolts when you actually undo them. So you can see now the caliper is completely loose with the cable still attached, meaning you shouldn't need to do any adjustment to the cable. So you can see here you've got the brake pads, and you can see mine, they're okay, but they could do with changing, especially the one on the right hand side. It's also worth checking that you've got both of your washers on both bolts as well. So like these ones, if you see here where you've still got quite a lot of material still left on your brake pads, then you can actually wind this bolt here in, and what that will do is that will adjust the piston inside the caliper, and it will push the brake pads closer to the disc, meaning that there's less travel on the lever. This will compensate for any additional wear on your brake pads. Because I'm changing the brake pads, I'm actually going to unwind this piston fairly far back, so it makes it easier for the brake pads to come out. So you can see now that I've wound the piston anti-clockwise, so both brake pads are further apart, meaning that I can now flick this here with another screwdriver or a small Allen key to pop the brake pads out. So you can see the old ones against the new one, and you can see there's heavy score marks on the actual brake pad itself, and the material itself is quite hard and brittle. So if I just show you inside the caliper now, you can see you've got the piston on that side, and you've also got the piston on that side as well, wound all the way back. So you can see there is quite a lot of debris in there, so I might just give that a clean before I pop the new pads in. It's worth noting as well that they are magnetised to help hold the pads in, so it can make it slightly trickier to get out. However, when you're placing the brake pads in, it makes it nice and easy. So fitting it back up is just the same as taking it off. So just place the bolt back in here and screw it in, and then just place the bolt back in here and screw it in as well. So with it all back together, you can now hear that you've actually got a slight bit of rubbing on the calipers. So with this, if you just squeeze the actual brake lever itself a few times, just to reset it, and you can also use this adjuster here to just tighten this up slightly. And now that should help stop the rubbing. That's an easy way to change the brake pads on the Solar P1, or adjust your current brake pads to make sure you have the optimum braking performance.